Hey everyone, welcome back to another class of Pronunciation in Use Level Intermediate. Today we're trying to learn a little bit more about joining words. So as you can see the title here, it says joining words number 3, which means we basically had like 2 other lessons on the same topic, and now we're just trying to extend our knowledge. We're gonna kind of get deeper and take a look at some more examples, some more cases, and also practice a little bit more when it comes to joining words. So as you can see here, it says greet guests and Greek guests. Now the point is, as you look at this title, it says Greek guests and Greek guests. So what happens is they sound the same. Let me write them. So greet means to say hello, how are you, welcome them. So here greet is a verb. For example, what is he doing? He's greeting the guests, which means he's talking to the guest, he's saying hello to them, he's welcoming them. So he's greeting the guest. But the second one, Greek, it's a nationality, like Iranian guests, Iranian guests or Turkish guests or Greek guests. So it's a nationality, and so basically this Greek means from Greece. For example, Iran is the country, Iranian is the nationality. That we have the same for Greece, it's a country, and Greek is a nationality. So you see these two words or phrases have totally different meanings. This is a verb, greet guests, love guests, talk to guests. The second one though is an adjective, Greek guests. So what happens, teacher? Here's what happens. You have a ge here, so you don't say greet guests, because te is a consonant and also ge is a consonant. It is hard to say greet guests. So the book says it sounds like ge. So it's like a little joining them, and instead of saying greet guests, you can say, you can just pronounce it. You can't write it, of course. So te and ge are kind of mixed. They're blended into one consonant sound, which is the ge sound. So I don't want to say I greet the guests, I greet guests. I want to blend them and say I greet guests, right? Or in the second one, instead of saying Greek guests, I prefer to say Greek guests, because it's hard to say. Now ke and ge are close, so it's not a big deal here, but again, the book says that they are both pronounced as ge, like the ge sound that you see here. Ge, the ge sound. Now we want to take a look at some more examples. For example, look at this picture. He's greeting the guests. He's greeting the guests. It means he's talking to the guest. He's saying welcome to the guests. So he's greeting the guests. This is a good picture for the word greet as a verb. And here we have some more linkings. So let's get closer. You have de here and ke here. So you don't say I've got a bad cold. It's very hard So you prefer to say I had a bad cold. Bad cold. So almost the is not really pronounced, or it pronounced like a yeah, bad cold. So basically the book says instead of saying bad cold, you could say bad cold, because this is easier to say, of course, right? I have a bad cold. As I told you, a ge is close to ke. If you look at the pronunciation, this is the ge sound and this is the ke sound. So they are closer and it's easier to pronounce it like this. Hey, I have a bad cold. Bad cold. It means I have a bad cold, which is really hard to pronounce. We have another example here. De and ye. This one changes to badge. And it's exactly like I'm sure you have seen this in my listening lessons. In my listening lessons, I told you, did you can change to did you, right? So this happens because of the de and the ye sound. Now it doesn't have to be did you. It could be any de ending and any ye starting. So here de is here and starting is another ye sound. So you say badger. We had a badger. Now let's listen to these two examples.
B94.
I've got a bad cold.
We had a bad year.
So try to listen and repeat.
B94.
I've got a bad cold.
Did you repeat? I've got a bad cold. I've got a bad cold.
We had a bad year.
We had a badger. We had a badger.
They shot bears.
They shot bears. So instead of saying shot, you prefer to say shop, because pe, again, you see here. If you say pe here, shop, a pe is closer to be. It is easier to say. And they shot bears.
We had a bad year.
They shot bears.
They shot bears.
They shot cats.
They shot cats. Now here te can change to ke sound, because the next word starts with ke sound. It's easier. So it's pronounced like shock. They shot cats.
What's your son called?
What's your son called? Again, here you have the ge sound. Because of ke, a ge is closer to ke. What's your son called? What's your son called?
They shot bears.
They shot cats.
What's your son called?
My son made this.
My son made this. So here ne is close to me, but you can also change it to another me sound and get double M. So you can say my son made it. My son made this. It means my son made this. So it's pronounced like this. Again, it's not necessarily to do this, but if you know that it's going to help you improve your listening, right? But you don't have to do this, especially some of them are really not easy to, produce, or they might not come to your mind at the time. That's fine. You can just go ahead and pronounce it like my son made this. It's still understandable, no problem. So don't bother a lot with these pronunciations. And here we have some more examples. So let's listen to them as well.
B94.
I've got a bad cold.
I don't know if this part is audio recorded or no. Oh, I think not. Yes, yes. So this part, it says sometimes this de, it happens to these two sounds. Look at them. De and te. Again, not all the time, but some of the times they can get totally removed. I mean, you don't really pronounce them at all, right? So you don't say I asked questions. It's hard. So you just say I ask questions. So you can actually remove this, not in writing, but in pronunciation. You can say I ask questions. Or I mix paint. You could say I mixed paint, but it's hard. So you might want to say I mixed paint yesterday, or boiled carrots, or boiled. So you can get rid of the de sound or the te sound if it's really hard. But again, you can still use it and nothing happens and there's no problem. This is just what the listening is, what the book is teaching you. So you understand some native speakers when they drop certain consonants to pronounce words easier, to pronounce words more easily. So let's go to notes. We can usually tell what a word is from the context. So here there is a sentence. I sat in the waiting room and dig crosswords. So in this sentence, you should guess the word dig from the context. So this word is probably did, right? Because you do crosswords. And if you don't know crossword, so crosswords are like puzzles, like games. Crossword. Yes, this is a crossword puzzle. So remember that we do crosswords. My father loves crosswords and he does crosswords every week. So dig crossword, because the next word is starting with the k sound. The speaker changed the d sound to the g sound. So it sounds like he sat down and dig crosswords. Dig crossword. It means did crosswords. So this is so basically you can pay attention to the meaning and guess what the word is. Now let's go to exercises. There are some questions here. The underlined word in each sentence is for one of them, A or P. So let's focus on the example part. The example part, it says, I taught classes this morning. All right. So, sorry. I taught classes this morning. Now, you should use this one for this one. Why, teacher? It is because your next word is starting with k sound, classes. So it's better to say I taught classes. Get rid of the t sound and change it to the k sound. It's gonna make it easier to pronounce because joining happens there. So this t changes to k. So instead of saying I taught classes, which is very hard, you can say I taught classes. I taught classes. And the other one, as you can see, is taught. So you taught yourself French. Now remember, when we have te and ye, the kind of linking that happens is che sound. So che is good here. Yes, you taught yourself French. If you listen carefully, you can feel that che sound in my voice. So part B, you taught yourself French. Part A, I taught classes this morning. Now we can listen to CD for that too.
B95. Example A.
I taught classes this morning.
Example B.
You taught yourself French.
Taught yourself. Taught yourself. Yourself. So you taught yourself French. All right. I encourage you to pause the video at this point and try to do the remaining exercises on your own. And then I will come back and tell you some of them, and you can check your answers. So go ahead, please pause the video, try to answer them, write your answers on a little piece of paper, and then you can check your answers with me. Okay, so I'm going to start. The sun burnt my neck. Now, if you take a look, it starts with B. And the next one, the sun came up over the mountains, starts with K. So K, what is close to K? G is close to K. Yes, G, K, like that. So you'd better use song here instead of sun. You add a little. Remember, this is a very little sound, so you don't hear, of course, song. No, it's very weak, but it helps you pronounce more easily. So you say the sun came up over the mountains. And the other one is be, and you can use some here. Me and be. Look at your tongue position. M, b. Your lips. The positions are similar, so me goes better with that one. So he said the sun burned my neck. Number 2, I can't beat you at this game. I can't beat you. This is the example that I told you. Like here, taught yourself. If you remember, te and ye, it said taught yourself. Here it's the same. I can't beat you at this game. And I can't beat Carol at tennis. So this one, it has the K sound. So you can use this K sound to get closer to this. So I can't beat Carol. Next one, Coke and Coach. I can't get this Coke clean. So this one, of course, Coke works well because you have another K sound here. So if you create another K sound here, it's gonna make it easier. And this one is again che, coach. Is this the coach you bought? Is this the coach you bought? So again, te and ye are linking, so you say che sound. And remember, che sound, I use this notation, but you know, logically, it has to be the che sound. Che is like this in the dictionary. If you ever see this in a dictionary, it's the che sound. For example, if you look up the word chair in dictionary, you're gonna see this notation for che sound, and then the rest. So now let me check this word for you to get you a little bit, make you a little bit more familiar with this notation, che notation. So you can see it says chair, or American, it's just chair. So this sound is the che sound. It's like phonetic symbols that we use. All right. So you get chair, and the che part. This is the che part, and it's here. Anyway, number 4. They cheat quite a lot. Of course, quite. This Q has a K sound, so you'd better add some K here. So cheek would probably be a good joining. And they cheat people out of their money. This one is cheap because of the the following P. There is a P that is following. So you want to get close to this P sound and pronounce it more easily. So you say they. You don't say they cheat people. You say they cheat people out of their money. And that's now easier to pronounce. So that was it. Exercise number 1. You can still go back, play the video again if there are parts you didn't understand. You can also contact me on my Instagram account, send me a direct message, or on YouTube, wherever, Telegram channel. You can just send me a message and I'll get to you as soon as I can, and I'll answer your questions. Let's go to the next part. Here, there was a computer. People spoke into this computer, and the computer transcribed what people said. But the computer made a few mistakes. The reason is people said, "What's your name?" and computer didn't analyze that it is "What is your name?" So the computer exactly wrote "What's your name?" But that's not what we wanted. So we gotta help this computer correct the mistakes here. This was an example. I'll do 2 of them, and I'll ask you to do the rest on your own. So number 1, I hate going to museums and art galleries. So remember, like, art is exactly where the problem is. It doesn't make sense to say art galleries. It was probably because of the G here. The speaker used K, art galleries, to make it easier to pronounce, and the poor computer just copied that without being aware of all these joinings. So I'm gonna fix that. It must have been definitely art gallery, not art gallery. Like, art gallery is you probably have seen this word a lot. If you have been studying English for a while, you know that art gallery is like this. So what you see in the picture is art gallery. You can go to an art gallery, buy a painting, check out a few beautiful paintings and famous paintings. So that's an art gallery. Number 2, have you ever tried Belgian beer? So I have to think a little to see what the problem is. Have you ever, this part doesn't make sense. Beer is fine, this is the name. So this is a bear. Probably the the speaker used be here to get closer, but the word is not be. And remember, it's beer. Beer is like Coke, beer, water, drink. It's a kind of drink. So probably tried is a good word here. But the speaker used try Belgian beer because Belgian, I don't know what it is. It's close to be. So have you ever tried? But the word was tried. Now I'm going to give you some time to go through number 3, 4 to 6, and then, so please pause the video at this point, try doing it on your own, and then resume the video and check your answers with me. Alright, so I'm going to answer now. I got 8 questions correct out of 10. So I got 8 questions correct out of 10. So it was 8, not 8. But the pronunciation sounds like 8. I got 8 questions. Teacher, why the pronunciation sounds like? Because of question. Question has a K starting, and it's better to get a K here, not T. 8 questions. It's hard. So you change it to K. I got 8 questions. But the computer didn't recognize it, so we helped. The next one. She's a good player and can win games against most people. So of course it's win, not wing. The only reason the computer got G is because the speaker used G to get closer to the next consonant. But it's actually win. That's the word. Number 5, he copied out the text line by line. Of course, this is line by line. And the reason the computer wrote me because the speaker used me. Why did the speaker use me? Because me is very close to be. When you say b, and when you say m, they are very similar. Like the way your tongue and your lips are positioned are quite similar with b and m. And that's why the speaker preferred to use line by line instead of line by line. Anyway, number 6, it was a bad question. Nobody got the answer right, so it should be bad question. We had this example earlier in our lesson. If you go back a little bit, let me scroll up. You can see that we had this example. Bad cold sounded like bad cold, and I typed it for you as well. So let's move on to, so that was exercise number 2, the second exercise. Now we're going to move on to the last exercise here. Here we're going to have to listen to this audio and write, fill in the blank. Let's listen to the example first.
1A. B96. B97. Example.
He put the soup back in the pan.
So he put the soup back in the pan. You should fill in the blank with pan. He put the soup back in the pan. Remember, it's not suit, and here you shouldn't write anything because suit is a kind of clothes, form or clothing, and it's not what we want. Now we are talking about food, soup, because you put it back in the pan. And if you don't know pan, this is a pan. So we're talking about food, and this is a pan. So we want to get soup, and this one is not used here. Let's go to number 2.
1. I got this cup by winning the game.
2.
I'll have to warm my hands.
3.
Her heart broke when he left her.
4.
It's the last term before the holidays.
So I recommend that you go back, listen again, and try to do it on your own. Now I'm going to listen again and answer.
Example.
He put the soup back in the pan.
1.
I got this cup by winning the game.
So I got this cup by winning the game. So when you win the game, of course you get a cup, not a cut, right? So I'm gonna write this here. Right? And this one, we don't really need this one. It's not about cut.
2.
I'll have to warm my hands.
So you don't warm your hands, you warm your hands. It means you make them warm, not cold.
3.
Her heart broke when he left her.
So when he left her, her heart broke. And we're talking about heart. So yeah, this is a heart. We're not talking about harp, we're talking about heart. So her boyfriend left her and she was sad. Her heart broke.
4.
So we're not talking about harp. We don't need this one or this one. I mean, we don't need these sentences. We should ignore them, basically.
4.
It's the last term before the holidays.
It's the last term before the holidays. So they are in the university, they're talking about the holidays like Nowruz holiday in Iran or Christmas holidays in the US or the UK. So it's the last term before the holidays. We're not talking about term. Term is a different thing. We're talking about semester. Like in Farsi, we also say term number 1, term number 2, semester, term, like this. It's the last term before holidays. Alright, with that, we come to the end of this unit. I'm so happy that I've made it so far to this unit, unit 40. The next unit, we're going to go to unit 60. And it's the last unit. I'm so happy that I'll soon finish this book, and I've accomplished another goal, which is finishing this book. It was a great book about pronunciation. You of course have to be a little bit patient when you listen to me teaching this book, because some parts gets hard. You need to pay a lot of attention, but still it's worth watching the videos and learning a lot from it, if you have the time, of course, and you really care about your pronunciation. This is gonna work magic. So I'm going to end this live. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not live this time, but most of the time that I do a video, I'm live on Instagram, and then I record my screen. This time I'm doing it at home, and I'm not live. My phone battery is dead. But anyway, I'm going to finish recording. You can check this out and tell your friends about our channel, subscribe, follow, and yeah, I'll see you later. Take care.